Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of HT Auto Live. Today was a big day for Mercedes-Benz here in India with the launch of two AMG products. And to speak to us more on that, we're joined by Martin Schwenk from Mercedes-Benz. Martin,
Good
thank you
afternoon.
so much thank you so much for joining in today and taking the time out. Martin, big day today, isn't it?
Of course. It's in multiple aspects a big day. On the one hand, we launch for the first time digitally two cars. On the other hand, we did all of it by ourselves. The own team here in Pune did pull that off. And obviously very special also because we start coming back to the office and to the premises as well to move the business forward. So in that sense, it's in many aspects a very special day to the entire team here.
Yes. How was the experience of doing a digital launch? I mean, we're getting used to it ourselves, but how was it for you?
Well, I think, there's digital launches this way and that way. What we try to do is also to show a little bit how the people different scenes, not just to have it like in a dry studio setup. We have built into it in what we call MB Mercedes-Benz Live Consultation Studio, which gives a feeling of how customers can themselves get vehicle explanations from our product experts. That's one of the topics we communicated today. And we use that framework also for the digital show, so to say. So I think overall it worked quite well, but I would actually have to ask the customers, which is the journalists on the other end, what their impression is. For us, I think we are quite satisfied in how it came across. Obviously, always a little bit critical. We could have done this a little bit better, that a little bit smoother. But overall, I think it's a learning. Anything like this needs some time to really manage and master it. But I think the team did a very good job today.
Right. Yeah. I can tell you, us journalists, we're really missing taking a closer look at those cars. I mean, we did the best we could on the street.
At least to give you some noise, some sound. Yeah. I mean,
yes.
When we prepared, I said I definitely want the real sound. We don't have just corporate videos or so. We need some life in the house. But of course, I mean, these cars you want to touch, you want to get into the car, look at the cockpit, get some feeling, and obviously spin it to some extent. But that can happen at a later point in time. Just under these circumstances, it would a little bit take some time. Yeah.
Right. Before we come directly about those two products, and very exciting as they are, I would like to know a little bit from you about how life has been at Mercedes-Benz India over the last several weeks now.
I think extremely busy and extremely different to what it was before. We have obviously already in middle of March, when the entire situation got a little bit more difficult, we prepared for a lockdown scenario long before it was actually stipulated. And then when it came to the situation, we could immediately implement everything that was necessary and secure production, our employees, and making sure that everything is fine. And then subsequently, during the last couple of weeks, we spent a lot of time and energy in preparing, on the one hand, how do we get through that crisis? How do we restart? And obviously a main focus was and will remain, how do we make it safe for our people, for the customers and for the dealer staff? And we devised a lot of protocols around that. And when you come now here to the factory in Pune, obviously we would in the first place not really want to let you in because that's part of the protocol. But we would do anything from thermal screening to distancing to a lot of sanitizing and cleaning in the buildings and desks and tools and everything. So all of that is implemented, and similarly it happens at the dealerships. And I think we are getting to a situation which is acceptable from an operational point of view, and we really hope now that slowly but surely the gates open up a little bit and we can come back to a more normal life, obviously always under the impression of the virus, but in a more normal way, where we then also have more showrooms opening and more dealerships and so forth. So it was a very interesting time, and to my surprise, as someone who works then most of the time I work from home, I have to say I'm impressed how well that worked. A lot of interactions, not only with journalists, but a lot of discussions with the team. How do we get through the crisis? How do we prepare for the time after? And that kept, I think, all of us very busy. So the result, for example, we see today, that's plans we did before, and it's working. that's how the life was the last couple of weeks.
Any particular concern, especially from employees, after a couple of other car manufacturers reported some of their employees testing positive for COVID?
Well, I think this is something everyone has in their mind. I mean, if I'm today here in the launch and I have people looking over my shoulder, then I have it in mind. If you're in the production environment and if you're in the office environment, you have it in your mind. But we try to do our very best, and we know that keeping a clean and sanitized environment, that is really everything you touch to how you distance. We have implemented a 1.50 meter distancing, and we will maintain that. Which 1.50 meter distance in offices. So every second office workspace, for example, is just X'd out and cannot be used. Similarly, in production, we have implemented distancing measures. In the canteen, people sit in a very different way and not very communicative way to make sure that there's no interactions. Buses come, I would say, half full or less. So I think when people see how much efforts we put in, they understand that we mean it seriously. And I think the people coming here, their concern is maybe even less than what it would be from the families that are left behind, because they don't see that environment, and some of them maybe cannot picture that. So I have heard some voices that my family feels that's maybe not safe or so. But that is surely not what I feel when I talk to our employees. They feel good care is taken, and I'm sure that's also in the meantime back at the families, that feeling that it has highest priority to make sure that everything is in place and we stick to what we have defined. And similarly, we do the same with the dealerships. We have brought to them packages. We informed them how it should be done, what should be used in very detail, how to communicate and interact with customers, what types of, I mean, you see me here wearing my mask, which goes after interviews, it goes immediately like this again. Yeah. So I think these things, if they're used consequently, in my view, that's the best we can do at the moment. And that will also take care of some concern. Everyone will at the end have to appreciate we have to work. Without work, no money. Yeah, and then it's getting difficult. I mean, that's true for everyone. So a level of risk is there. But I mean, living here in Pune and living in India, the risk of life is there anyways. I mean, traveling, I'm not sure what is riskier, traveling to the factory or staying in the factory. Yeah. So historically, traveling also shows that it's risks associated. Yeah. So I think not downplaying the overall situation. It's very severe, and we have, in my view, taken very strong steps. But then you get to a point where you say, okay, now we need to move. And I think we have reached that point for the time being.
Right. So work and health is primarily the two things that we need to balance it out under the current circumstances. Work was something that was shut down over the last several weeks for dealers as well. I mean, showrooms, workshops, with everything shut over the past several weeks, and only now sort of coming back to life. What is the nature? What are the sort of concerns that you heard from the dealer networks, and how were they addressed?
Well, obviously, the dealers, as any retailer, but also as a manufacturer, if you don't sell, there's no money. And I think that is obviously the biggest concern is around cash flow and liquidity. And I would think very quickly we stepped up and looked into what we can do, and we processed a lot of funds that were, on the one hand, due to the dealers, and the other one needed to support that situation. We gave support on stock that they had on hand, and we still support that to some extent. So, and then also we initiated early a conversation. What can we do to reduce our cost itself? I mean, if you don't have sales, you have to look into your cost position and at least to salvage some of it. And I think we have made big progress there also in discussing about productivity measures, how to optimize some of the cost of doing business without having a customer impact. There's a lot of non-customer facing activities. I mean, I may talk about travel cost, marketing cost, training, other fixed cost elements which can be adjusted And we had a very how can I say, strong, not strong is maybe the wrong word, a very detailed discussion with every dealer. What are their ideas? What can we do to support? So we went really dealer by dealer, and that we started already 2 months ago, that conversation in a very structured way to discuss with them, on the one hand, what is their need, what can we do, but on the other hand, how can they optimize their business and what is our part in that. And that's an exercise which I think helps to some extent, but only to some extent. At the end, we have to come back into an operational mode. Right now, we have around 70% of the dealerships open. We have around 80% on workshops open. And I think that is the most important thing now. You can only really sell you out of the crisis. Yeah? I mean, you cannot save us out of the crisis. Yeah, that's not possible. At the end, we have to go back into the workshops, do the servicing, repair the vehicles. We have to bring our cars to the customers and be attractive to customers. And when I say that, that's what we do with the dealers. But at the same time, what is necessary for the dealers to help is that the manufacturer, in this case us, has a strategy how to come back into business. And I would clearly claim we use the time to really do so. We have put out a very strong footprint with the Merck from Home campaign on the online space, including elements like our Mercedes-Benz consultation studio to have a really completely new experience on that leg. We have just recently launched what we call Wishbox 2.0 financing options, which also should make it easier for customers to take away with some hesitation. There's, for example, a program which allows you 3 months not to pay EMIs, only afterwards, or there is programs which allows you even a 10-year contract, which has not been there in the industry before, something like this. And then obviously the strongest we always have is, besides the brand, the products. So we continue to push the products, and we believe the right thing now is to come also with our AMG cars to show they are brand shapers, they're important for the emotions, and they're also elements of fun and joy, which we want to bring back to the business as well. So our part as a manufacturer is obviously also in that league, from online and digital to supporting offers to the customers, to pushing the products forward, the new products. And today is only the beginning. Afterwards, we'll have GLS, we have our EQC, we have A Limousine, all these cars lined up. And this will happen as we have planned before. It will have some delays here and there, but overall we will remain on track and bring these cars. At the end, it's the cars, it's the new models, which will help us to create some momentum. And we are now hoping that the overall situation of the economy is stabilizing, and also we can slowly but surely come out of that dip, or whatever you want that to call that, come back to some level of normalcy. That's what we do at the moment, and I think that explains more or less the strategy we are following. Let's see how it works. It will heavily depend on whether we get lockdown 5.0 or 6.0. As soon as this comes, I will be back in home office and have to discuss now what do we do next, because this plan now more or less works on the assumption that we'll have some delays in purchases. Some people will defer, but there is also a wish to overcome the situation that hopefully by beginning of the festive season, we see then also some customers see a reason to celebrate, and they come back to purchase then. So that's basically in simple terms what we're aiming for at the moment. But there is bigger topics around us, and we'll have to react based on what the situation will develop over the next couple of weeks.
Right. But before I come to the two specific products that were launched today, and since you mentioned you hope that the demand picks up, sale picks up by the festive season, how difficult is it, or is it difficult in particular for the luxury car segment to cope up with the current situation? You've just launched two AMG products. Now these are at a much higher price bracket than even your other fleet of cars that you have in the garage. Current challenges, do you think, make it even tougher for companies like Mercedes-Benz and its direct rivals in India and the world over?
I think we are not completely different than the overall economy at the end. I think with our cars, we will have traction, and we will sell, and we will perform I'm confident at least to what the industry can do. What I can tell you is last year we already had in India in the automotive segment quite a downwards trend, and we did better than the market, but we did also specifically on our AMG segments. We even sold 50% more than we did in the year 2018. So I think even in the terms of downturn, there is a potential if you offer the right products to outperform, if you can say outperform, but do better than the market, which I believe we have a chance this year as well. Not only based on AMG, but also based on our new product lineup. We have all over relatively new vehicles or very new vehicles. GLC facelift only launched recently. GLE only launched recently, and still a lot of back orders there, and more like GLS coming. Very important cars to us and to the market. So I think with that together, we should be able. And I don't see luxury customers being substantially different. They also hesitate at the moment, and there will be some purchase deferral, I would think, where they.
Is that a possibility? I'm so sorry to interrupt, but from people going from aspirational buying to either delaying the aspirational buying or going from aspirational buying to probably need-based buying?
I don't know. Honestly, at the end, the wishes of people have not changed. Yeah, and I mean, for me, quite simply, as much as you want to travel, I want to travel. We want to come back to some level of normalcy. The question is, do we have the means, and what has changed in our framework? And I think currently it is for everyone, every employee or business owner, still a moment to see how that will play out. And that is at the end the overall question to how is the economy bouncing back? Because at the end, only if the businesses can survive and are profitable, and a lot of our customers are business owners, then they will feel they can buy the cars. I think generally a lot of our customers have the means, and they still have the means to buy the car, but they might still want to wait to see how the situation unfolds, and then only then purchase. So I would expect we have some hesitation, and again I voice the hope. I wouldn't say expectation, but the hope that with the festive season we see some of the momentum coming back. I mean, everyone also wants to go back to normal, and you want to enjoy life to some extent, yeah. And if you can, you will try to do that, and everyone with their means will try to do that. And that means not everything will be need-based. Yeah, people will buy new cell phones and they will buy cars. Yeah, if they will travel if they can. Whether that will be the same extent, we'll see. But I think overall, it really depends on what the economy is doing and what the business sentiment then is developing.
Right. The need to travel is going to be there. It's going to exist. And what better way to travel than to sort of go from 0 to 100 in 3.6 seconds? That's
it depends on which car you're sitting in. 3.6 in the GTR, it would take you an endless time of 4 seconds on the AMG C63 coupe. Yeah, so but still pretty fast, I think. Yeah.
It's a little difficult to choose between the two cars, but I would still go with the GTR. Why don't you tell us a little more about the thought process of getting the C63 coupe and the GTR to India?
I mean, we have been quite successful with the AMG brand by itself. We have with AMG cars and dream cars, we would claim we have around 50% market share in the performance car segment. And we have seen our cars being very successful from the GLE 43 to the performance sports car. Yeah, and if we go to the top of the range, then you're sitting with the GTR, which is really for these guys who are complete petrol heads, who really are in the details of and they most of them they also multiple car owners, and they have the means to enjoy a car like this. So we believe for the brand Mercedes, it is helpful to have this brand shaper from AMG, and also to give some positive emotions into into our life at the moment, and really pushing forward with the GTR launch, and also with the C63, which is a car obviously as well very performing. Yeah, I mean it also has this 4-second I was speaking about, and it has also 476 horsepower. So it's a very, very strong car. It's beautiful on top. The car we showed today in this matte black, very attractive, and it will attract its customer. And for us, always these cars are also there to explain where we are, who we are, what we do, and what the brand stands for. And at this point in time, it's also a sign of let's get back onto the road. Let's get back into business. Both cars they are essentially niche cars. They are for really high performance lovers who are very deep into tech and want these sports cars. But at the same time, it is a topic to talk about. It brings back some emotions, and we would believe that with that we also can somehow infuse the momentum that we try to build up now going forward for the brand.
Right. These two cars are obviously also meant for, and probably specifically meant for, driving enthusiasts and speed enthusiasts. But what about others who are looking for a more luxurious performance from Mercedes? Do you think the used car network, pre-owned car network, can now see a sort of a boost, a shot in the arm, maybe in the days and the months to come?
I mean, we have already seen in the last couple of years that the used car market can be further structured and be optimized, and we can, together with our dealers, offer successfully pre-owned Mercedes to our customers. So we have seen getting traction in the last couple of years already, and we also know that, for example, the online space here is a specific area where customers like to have the transparency, and then also can be brought closer to the brand. If your question is, do customers buy rather used car than new cars? I don't think so. Our historic information and what we see is most of our used car customers at some point in time, they become their new car customers. After 3-4 years, they upgrade to a new car. And we have a lot of first-time buyers in the new car segment, in the used car segment. I would expect that both streams, be it pre-owned or be it new cars, will have a chance to develop in parallel, and I don't see a substitution between the two verticals, if I can name it like this.
But Martin, you're talking about how the trend has been in the past, but in the times to come, and times have clearly changed. Do you still feel that they would run parallel to each other, pre-owned and new vehicles?
Yes. Right. I think if you just look into our portfolio, we have when I take what we started doing second half around Q4 last year till what we do end of this year, a vast chunk of our product portfolio will be completely renewed. And then obviously a used car is automatically also not the latest car. So I think specifically new models will help to keep people with the product and the brand on the new car side. The used car, I think it will be attractive again to, and I don't think that changes here drastically. It will be very relevant to first-time buyers of Mercedes cars. They will look into that, and I would rather see there is an additional potential than I would expect that we have people, take a GLE for an example. Yeah, you have the brand new long wheelbase on the one hand side, and you have the used car, which obviously a different price point. So most likely an existing Mercedes-Benz customer would rather look for an upgrade, whilst a newcomer to the brand maybe really wants to experience, and GLE is almost a timeless car, so it's still a very, very good car, and at a different price point, he might buy the used GLE, having in mind then after a few years he might then upgrade. So I don't see a general change in that behavior. But I mean, again, we are still in very early stages of the entire situation now. what we will monitor and we'll see how things unfold. But generally speaking, we would believe our new product portfolio will really help also to get traction in the new car segment.
Right. But Martin, that brings me to my final question. 2020 was promised to be a very, very strong year for Mercedes with many car launches here. Are all of those, or at least a significant number of those product plans, at least, and the schedules, are they still on track, or do you think there's a possibility that some may be pushed back just a little bit?
I mean,
especially the EQC. I mean, there has been so much talk about electric vehicles, but with COVID-19, that's sort of taken the backseat.
Things got to get a little bit more complicated under the current scenario, obviously. But let me say it like this: every product decision we have taken, will happen. So we will launch all our products we have planned. However, we'll have some delays and some reshuffling in terms of sequence, because at the end, at the moment, we didn't really talk about the supply situation, supply chain. Obviously, everything needs to fall in line as well. So it means, on the one hand, on imported cars, but also on the locally produced cars, we need to find now the right match between the supply and what we want to have in the market. And when it comes to EQC, that was planned to be launched in April before. We had now this disruption that basically means cars could not come to us. And then we have a handful of cars, so we don't want to start with like 3, 4, 5 cars. We want to start really selling this model. So you need to bring then the launch to where your supply will be. On the other hand, we have been able to secure the supply chains for GLE, GLS, and so forth. So we're basically more or less on track with the ramp up and launch scenarios on these cars. So it is really a little bit of fiddling. It doesn't mean the one or other car is being questioned. It just means we need to make it a fit between what is doable at the moment, between our own production, between the imported vehicles, and then obviously about the different plants and suppliers in the world. And that means for us a flexible approach at that point in time. No general change, but some flexibility in timing. And that means, unfortunately, to some extent, delays. Most of them will be delayed. I mean, you cannot go 3 months or 2.5 months basically out of business and expect that everything is faster than before. That won't be the case. We still have a ramp up to do. We have a ramp up of product. We have a ramp up of factory, and the whole society tries to ramp up. So having said that, I might be very optimistic now. Let's see how the development is. I mean, we have to take it as it comes. As I said before, it's a serious situation, not only economically, but also for the entire society. And we need to be cognizant of that fact that we can only do so much and live. We have to live with what the rules of the land are, what is possible, what the politicians feel is doable at this point in time. So we go with that as well.
Right. So delays are possibility, but cancellations not so much. It's good to have you optimistic about prospects, used cars and new cars to be parallel to each other. And the launches today are definitely a show of strength from Mercedes-Benz. So looking forward to more such product launches, even if it's slightly delayed. That's all right, I suppose.
We will have
as long as all of us are safe.
And I'm sure we'll also have the one or other face-to-face and live interaction again. Because I mean, if we keep the protocols, it will also be possible to do these things again in a live scenario and physically. So thanks again for having me.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time out, Martin, and thank you to all our viewers for tuning in.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Have a nice afternoon.